What's up, everybody? My name is Shannon and I am still waiting for my Seder. You may be wondering why my backdrop looks different. I'm currently sitting on the floor because somebody would not come down unless you could sit in my lap, and that was not working in the chair. So we're on the floor. Anyway, today we are going to be talking all about the Finishing School series by Gail Carriger. I'm sure you've heard me talk about this series tons of times, but for those of you who don't know, the Finishing School series is a series about a finishing school in Victorian London that not only teaches girls how to be ladies, but also teaches girls how to become spies and to kill people and all that awesome stuff that I just, for some reason, really love. I don't know why, but it's just, they're all like polite conversation, and oh, it's the Duke of whatever, and oh, I'm wearing my whatever, but yeah, now I'm gonna kill you with a pastry that looks like a grenade. Like, I don't know what it is, but I love them. I just finished Manners and Mutiny, which is the last one in the series, and I gotta say, I'm very satisfied with the ending. However, there are a couple of things that I wish could have been different. We're gonna get to that later, because first, I'm going to kind of review the whole series. I have reviewed the other books in the past, but those videos are my early days. So I'm gonna run through the series real quick. There will be minor spoilers, but I will throw up the warning whenever that's coming. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first one in the series is Etiquette and Espionage. In this one, our young heroine Sophronia gets selected to go to a private finishing school somewhere off in London. It's Swifel-on-X, I'm not really sure where that is, or if it's real. But anyway, she is kind of a tomboy. She doesn't want to go to finishing school. She doesn't want to be a lady. She has all these sisters. It's not the life for her. She's kind of a farm girl, whatever. But nonetheless, she's intrigued when she meets the headmaster, who isn't exactly what she was expecting, but nonetheless, she gets sent off, and on the way there, her carriage is attacked by the notorious Flyawaymen. These are kind of like pirates, but in the sky, which is kind of funny because they were in a regular carriage. She finds out that the woman who was masquerading as Mademoiselle Geraldine, the headmistress, was none other than Monique de Pelouse, who was actually on assignment for her finishing, which just means that they're all done with school. Chaos ensues. Sophronia kind of saves the day with the help of her new friends that she met on the carriage ride, Pillover and his sister Dimity, who will soon be her best friend, and off they go. And that ride kind of kicks off the whole series, because as we go on, Sophronia kind of learns that Monique is kind of up to no good. She might be working for somebody, and they're not exactly sure who that is. But nonetheless, Sophronia has a lot to learn in this new world of a finishing school for female intelligencers, and thus we get to go along with her. I really love how the world gets set up. It's very kooky, it's very wacky, and it's kind of like, I'm going to explain it to you, but I'm going to explain it to you as if you should already know it, which was really interesting because you kind of, I don't know, it just made it more believable, because it's just like, oh, psh, duh, of course it's this thing. Like, of course you can't be a woman and be in the vampire hive. Like, they don't take female drones. Like, everybody knows that, duh. But it's just little things like that that just made it really enjoyable. And of course, we find out that there are other groups. We have the Supernaturals, who are the vampires and the werewolves, and they're both rather interesting. We don't know a lot about the werewolves. We kind of spend a little bit more time with them in the third book, but there's still not a lot to be known about them. The vampires, however, are very interesting. They're very dapper, they're dandies, and it's just there's lots of interesting rules that have to go along with each of the Supernaturals. On the other side of that coin, you have the Picklemen, who are a secret group of aristocrats who want to seek to take over the government by their use of mechanicals, and that kind of becomes the central overlying plot throughout the books. Who's good, who's bad, what are the Picklemen really up to, and what's kind of going on, and Sophronia gets kind of thrown in the middle of it, even though she doesn't really have a side, and that's one of the things that I really love about her.
Wave to all of your friends, and I'll never...
At the end of Etiquette and Espionage, we find out that Monique is actually working for the vampires and was going to sell some equipment to the Picklemen, but of course Sophronia writes everything, and everything is all good. The next one in the series is Curtsies and Conspiracies, and I actually really enjoyed this book because we get to meet the Bunsen boys, which they go to Bunsen School for Evil Geniuses, and I really loved them because we got to meet none other than Felix Mersey, who is totally swoon-worthy. Now, of course, in this book, I do have a problem because a love triangle got introduced, and I have these things with love triangles. Sometimes they're fun, other times they're not, and they're not always needed. Like, look at the Lunar Chronicles. There weren't any love triangles, and it was totally fine. But there's a love triangle now between Sophronia and Felix, and Sophronia and Soap, who is a sooty, which is kind of like the lower ranks. He works in the boiler rooms, and he's also black, and in Victorian London, that's just, you can't fraternize with, it's unseemly. That's how it was in the Victorian era. I wasn't too thrilled about that, but it's not as prominent as it is in the third book, so it was overlooked. But in the second book, they're going off and they're starting to learn about, like, more things with the Picklemen and kind of what's happening, and they're going to London to see, like, the first ever flight through the ether, and the ether is just kind of, like, way up in the air, and it has kind of to do with, like, the mechanicals. There are a lot of rules, and I'm definitely not the one to explain them. I could have, like, a whole series on YouTube dedicated to just, like, these books and what the rules are, but they go, and things kind of happen, things malfunction, and it seems like the Picklemen are kind of in the middle of it, trying to control the mechanicals and trying to make the Supernaturals look bad, or is it the Supernaturals trying to make the Picklemen look bad by making the mechanicals malfunction? We don't really know, and we don't really find out till much later. The third one was by far my favorite because it's a train heist, and it was so much fun. We finally leave the confines of the school, which the school is awesome because it's a flying airship and there's tons of fun people on it, but we go, like, and steal a train because they're trying to, like, take one of their friends to the werewolves because there's lots of unrest, and I could go into it, but we're just gonna gloss over it. Felix and Soap are there, and the love triangle thickens, which I didn't like, but what are you gonna do? That's kind of when I started to realize that, you know, Sophronia is gonna have to pick a side eventually, because in this era, women can't do things for themselves, and especially if you're an intelligencer, you have to have money to do it. So you either need to marry or have a patron. And she's not the kind of person that wants to be tied down. She's very independent. She doesn't need to be working for anybody. And so I started to kind of see that, you know, if she was with the vampires, she has to do what the vampires say. If she's with the werewolves, she has to do what the werewolves say. And if she gets married, she really can't be an intelligencer anymore. And I started to see all that, and I'm just kind of like, I'd rather you be an independent.
Would you write, would you call back, baby? I wrote you a song.
And then it sort of started to manifest with the love triangle. Like, you have Soap, who, I don't know, like, they're friends and everything, and towards the end when he gets turned into a werewolf, now she's gonna be indentured to werewolves, and I'm like, you don't want to be tied down. But then you have Felix, and I love Felix, but then that would just be a marriage, and that'd be the end of her intelligencing career, and his father's a Pickleman, and we're pretty sure the Picklemen are evil, but I don't know. So that one, the ending of that one kind of messed me up. I really would have liked to see her end up with nobody, but the end of that one kind of leaves you knowing that she's going to be with Soap. And, of course, in the last one, she is pretty much with Soap. Man, they were kind of hot and heavy in this one. I was very surprised, especially for this era. Which, that did bother me. There was not enough Felix in this book for me. It's kind of got on my nerves. But there was a lot of fun things. We found out so many answers to questions that we didn't even know that we should be asking. Like Mademoiselle Geraldine. The whole series, we've been told that she doesn't know that her school is for intelligencers, and that's their ultimate assignment, is to keep her in the dark. And in this book, we find out that she's actually known all along, and she was playing them for fools, and it was absolutely amazing. She ended up being, like, definitely one of my top 10 characters in this book, because she, like, turned out to be so awesome. And we found out that Felix was working for the vampires too, which we should have seen coming because he's gorgeous. Of course the vampires would want him. And I don't even know. Like, we thought that he was probably secretly working for the Picklemen because his father was very high up in their ranks, but no, he's working for the vampires, which was very interesting. He's working alongside Monique. I was kind of sad because Sophronia does blow up the school, which is, you know, it's kind of like the end of Harry Potter when they kind of destroy Hogwarts, and you're just kind of like, oh, that's sad. Like, my home is gone. But it was spectacular, and the author did such a great job, like, because Sophronia was very much on her own in this book, and you got to see, like, all the things she's learned and how much she's grown. It was very, very fun and a very interesting read. In the end, she does end up with Soap, and she is indentured to the werewolves, but she's happy, everybody's happy, she's finished, whatever. Overall, I give this series a solid 10 out of 10. I absolutely love them. They are so silly, so fun to read, and they're so quick, and I love them. I love them. Can you tell? I definitely recommend these books. They are not for boys. They are definitely girl books, but they are so much fun. It's got strong, independent girls, and who doesn't like a school where you get to learn how to kill people and be a lady at the same time? I know I certainly do, and I will definitely be reading these books over and over, and I can't wait to check out some other books by Miss Gail Carriger. So up next, I did finish Winter yesterday as well, and I was very pleased with how that book ended because the Cresswell ship will never sink. I will be reviewing that one next. My non-spoiler review should be up either with this video or just after I upload this video, so be on the lookout for that, and then the video will just talk all about it, fangirl about the entire Lunar Chronicles series, will be up next week. I am back to reading the Fallen Kingdoms series. I only read a couple pages today. We're gonna see how far we get with that, and I'm going to be listening to Storm, which is the sequel to Silo, which, as you may know, I really enjoyed, and I would really like to know what the heck is happening in those books. So be on the lookout for that, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Being very bad today because it snowed and you're afraid of it. You won't go outside, which is just not good.